Many of you may have already noticed that AI is remarkably good at generating tasks for us to do. In fact, it's so good, it now has a term, and that term is AI generated work bloat, or if you want to be less nice, AI generated work slop. Now, essentially what this means is that AI is generating a lot of tasks, some of which are very useful, some of which are meaningful. But there's also a lot that is absolutely complete waste of time. So one of the skills that we need to be able to develop in this upcoming AI world is to get remarkably good at auditing the tasks that AI is generating for us. Now, AI does this through meeting summaries. You might, like I do sometimes, use AI to help me to add additional aspects to a project I've been working on. There's multiple ways that AI is doing this, but we do have to sort of bring a human-centric part into this by deciding, well, that's important, that's not important. So what I've done recently is I've done a little experiment and asked AI to develop for me a blog, a list of tasks that I would need to do over 4 weeks to create a blog. Now, interestingly, AI gave me 28 tasks to do. Now, as I look through the list, to be honest with you, most of those tasks I don't need to do. Most of those tasks, to be fair, would have been thought of way before I even put the idea, maybe I should start a blog. However, that's not what I want to go through today. What I want to do is show you how Todoist can give you a tool that, in conjunction with the time sector system, will give you a way of auditing or curating the tasks that AI generates for you so that you end up with what really matters. So let's go in and have a look. So I asked Gemini, Google's AI system, to give me a workflow of setting up a blog in 1 month's time. So basically over 4 weeks. Now, what Gemini did, which was brilliant, was it actually broke down all the steps that it thought I would need to do. Now, to be fair, as I mentioned before, I don't think a lot of these tasks actually need to be done. I've been writing a blog for 10 years now, and I know a human-centric approach to this would be write a first draft, edit the first draft, post. A lot of the suggestions in here was also about setting up a domain, choosing a platform. Well, today, in today's world, you basically got Substack, you've got Medium, and there's maybe a few others which will do all that work for you without you having to set anything up. But that's all beside the point. What it's basically done is it's given me, I think it's 28 tasks that I need to do in order to be able to build this blog. So the first step we need to do is to get those tasks into some kind of format. So what I will generally do is I copy this task list that Gemini has given me, and I've put it into my writing tool of choice, which is something called Ulysses. Now, Ulysses is just a basic, no frills writing tool. That's how I like to write my stuff. But the great thing about Ulysses is what it's doing is it's removing any formatting that Gemini or ChatGPT or Claude would give you. So I'm removing the formatting. Once you've done that, the next step is to copy the full list. Now, fortunately, Gemini has broken this down into week 1, week 2, week 3, etc. So that's fine. I've got that bit is sorted out. So I'm not going to change the titles. I'm going to leave them in because that's going to help me once I've got these into Todoist. So all I need to do now is once I've copied this list is I need to paste it into Todoist. Now you have a couple of choices here. You could do this using the inbox, but I wouldn't recommend doing it that way. What I would do is create a project. Just create a new project, open up the window, click create new task or add new task. From there, click paste. So it's whatever way you paste on your computer. For me, it's Command P. No, it's Command V. How did I forget that? Anyway, it's Command V. Todoist will then ask me, do you want to import these tasks? Click yes, and it's going to bring them all in. Now what it's done is it's created a list for me. Now the list is still not in a very good shape. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to change this view to board view. Now the reason I'm doing that is because the board view makes it so much easier for me to create sections. So within the sections now, all I need to do is create 4 sections: week 1, week 2, week 3, and week 4. Now all I need to do is just drag the tasks over using the titles that came in with my pasted list of tasks. Now once you've got them in, now you can see the whole scope of what the AI generated tasks has given you. Now there are a few other things that you may wish to do. You might want to go into these and you may want to refine the wording because AI will use its own wording and make it sound very good. What I find is that AI is like one of those fresh new employees who's over-eager and over-enthusiastic and just wants to impress and tends to do way more work than is absolutely necessary. So what you have to do is act as like the manager at this point and go in and say, right, well, we don't really need to do that. We don't really need to do that. The wording of this isn't very clear. I need to change this. But in this format in Todoist, you can now see everything together and you can start moving things around. For example, if I was writing a blog post, creating a blog, well, the first thing I'd want to do is write 3 or 4 first drafts because I want to know if it's got enough of a weight for me to be able to create a blog on this. It might be just an idea that I have right now is just 1 post, but it may be that it'd be so easy for me to create 10 quick blog posts, first drafts. And that would tell me that, well, this needs to be its own separate blog. And so it's going to give me a ton of information. AI is suggesting I do this in week 4, which I just don't think is a great idea. I would move that to week 1. That might only be the thing I do in week 1. But what AI has done is given me a load of ideas, things that I may never have thought of that I think, actually, that's a good idea. I'm going to keep that in. So what you do now is you just curate this list. Now, I know that those of you working who are already using the time sector system will say, you don't keep projects in Todoist. This is absolutely true. You don't keep projects in Todoist. And remember, you already have this long list of stuff that AI has created, and that will go into my project note. That's done. I can see that. I can come back to it. I can see the original list of tasks that AI has given me. What I'm doing here is now I'm just getting it into a format that Todoist can use. Now, as we've created the sections, week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, all I need to do is focus on week 1 because that's when I'm going to start. That's going to go into my this week folder. I can then select all these tasks and then click move to my this week folder. Now, week 2, if I want to, I can move now into my next week folder. Again, select all by clicking at the top and then shift click at the bottom. That will allow you to select all and then move to week 2. And then for the others, week 3 and week 4, well, I want to get this done this month. This is just say I'm starting on the 1st of February. I want to have this done by the end of February. Well, those set of tasks I would move then into my next month or this month folder. I'm not sure when I'm going to do them. I know what I need to do first, and that's going to give me the clarity what needs to be done this week. I don't need to look at next week. I don't need to look at weeks 3 and week 4. I just need to reduce that overwhelming list of 28 tasks or whatever it is and get it down to a sizable task that I can now work on without being distracted by all the other stuff that I will need to do in the future. I hope that makes sense. Now that's what the whole point of the time sector system is. It's got a built-in antidote to AI generated work bloat or slop because it gives you an opportunity to be able to sit back and say, really, do I need to do that? Nah. That one, well, maybe I don't need to do that either, but perhaps I do. I'll move that into later, get it out of this week. These are the 5 or 6 tasks that I must do this week. Now those are the ones that you stay focused on because as with the time sector system, you will be doing a weekly planning session at the end of the week and you can then review what's left and bring things forward. It brings a human-centric side into the AI mix because you don't want to let go of agency over what you do. And remember, again, it comes back to that point, which is, doesn't matter how much you have to do if you don't have the time to do it. It ain't going to get done. So this is just a quick tip for you. Todoist gives you a really simple way of breaking down the amount generated AI tasks where you can now audit or curate it into a form that you know is realistic, can be done, and you can get on and do the work. I hope you found this useful. Now, for those of you who are curious about what I carry on my cell phone, then last week's video is probably the one to watch next, which you can see up here.